the story of this game is partially the officiating, but also just the NFL rules in general. Right here on this screen, what we're looking at is the Ravens scoring a go-ahead touchdown. Doesn't guarantee that they would have won it, but would have put them ahead. And the defense at that point had been clamping down on Aaron Rodgers and the defense. Here's the thing, Isaiah Likely, he catches the pass. He's got to hold on to him apparently for like a minute after he gets through the end zone. That's got to be his mentality going forward. But he had possession. He had 2.5 steps. Then at the end of that second and a half step, the ball gets knocked out of his hands. They had originally called a touchdown. They didn't even review it. The refs just decided on their own that they're going to wipe it off. I tweet in the middle of the game, I clearly don't understand what a catch is in the NFL. Isaiah Likely had possession and took 2 steps. I called it dumb. Gene Steratore, the CBS rules analyst, says that 3 things have to happen. Secure control of the ball, check mark. Isaiah Likely did that. Have both feet or a body part other than the hands inbounds, check mark. He did that. Then he says you have to perform a football move. You either take a 3rd step, tuck the ball away, turn upfield, avoid or ward off an opponent, or to maintain control of the ball long enough to do so. Here's the thing. Why is that necessary in the end zone? Or if that 3rd move is necessary, John Harbaugh made a good point. Why is this a catch for Aaron Rodgers then? Because if some sort of football move where you have to maintain possession or you have to survive the ground, whether you're the end zone or not, I've seen so many touchdowns counted when you barely get the ball over, barely break the plane with just the ball, and you're like, as a running back or a receiver just extending, and just as long as you like got it barely over, you're good. Why is 2 steps not good enough? Why is 2 feet planted when you're going out of bounds good enough? Okay, fine. You're saying then you need to do that 3rd move, a 3rd football move. Then why is this a catch for Aaron Rodgers? He's not surviving the ground. Both players have hands on the ball, and it's Teddy Buchanan who survived the ground. Aaron Rodgers didn't. So this is the problem that the NFL has, where something clear as day looks like a catch. You have possession and you take 2.5 steps, but this right here, you don't survive it. Somebody else has the hands. Who's going to come up with it at the end? It was Teddy Buchanan, but that's a catch. This is a catch in the NFL. This is not. That's the problem.
The crazy thing is, out of those 2, I don't think they were as egregious as this, which is the Travis Jones unnecessary roughness. It was a penalty that was called on 4th down, just gutting. The Steelers were about to trot, which they did trot Boswell out for a chip shot, and ultimately they get a fresh set of downs. And what do you think they did? They punched it in. John Harbaugh was asked about it specifically. Quote, I didn't see head and neck contact. You tweeted it during the game. A bunch of people did. You could hear John Harbaugh's commentary perfectly through the CBS in-game broadcast audio. So he said, and he was telling the officials, enraged, by the way, as a lot of you were out there, quote, I didn't see head and neck contact. That is what I did not see. You need to, this is from his post-game press conference, wasn't it? This specific quote.
Yeah, this specific quote. The other one, he was yelling at the refs. He can bulldoze them. He just can't have contact with the head or neck area. He said that live, but he repeated it here in the post-game press conference that you're reading.
Yeah, which was, quote, I didn't see head and neck contact, to your point there. That is what I did not see. You need to have head and neck area contact, and it needs to be forceful contact, not incidental contact. I didn't see any contact myself. Look, in one breath, it's like, Travis, bro, don't put yourself in that position, man. But at the same time, that to me is, out of these 3, all of which are puzzling to me, out of all 3 of them, it starts with the most egregious, for my money, with this on Travis Jones.
Yeah, because you say don't put yourself in that position, but what position is he supposed to be in? Look at these guys are both in the A-gap. Look at his head.
No, I know.
His head and neck area is right there. So are you just not allowed to try to impact the field goal? Like, that's why, and John Harbaugh said, he said the rule is that it needs to be not just contact, it has to be forceful contact, not incidental contact. But if you look at it, there was no contact. So it wasn't even a gray area with it being incidental. And I'm sorry, my voice is gone. I've been coaching basketball all weekend, and now I'm doing this game. So my voice is
Now
going.
you're coaching right now too.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been fired up all weekend. So we're back in basketball mode, and I'm in Coach Sarah mode for sure.
Yeah.
But there is no contact. And so John Harbaugh calls that out. I didn't see head and neck contact. He says that's the rule. And we didn't even show his reaction here. I thought I had it here, but he said that he got the same explanation. Here we go. I have it right here. He said we got the same explanation. Let me put my glasses on. He said the explanation was that the third foot didn't get down before the ball came out. That's what they said. So a reporter follows up.
Well, Sarah, hold on. For folks that want to read along with you, go ahead.
Thank you. He says, the reporter says, do you believe it should have been a touchdown? Harbaugh says, you know what? I believe a lot of things. I think the Aaron Rodgers play, meaning the overturned interception that we've got right here on the screen. He says the Aaron Rodgers play, and then he just tries to make because he's probably going to get fined, right? He's probably going to get fined because he goes, and I'm just talking about the rules. It's not an officiating issue. He says it comes from New York. So he's complaining about the rules, not necessarily the way the refs defined them. I don't know if the NFL is going to distinguish that, but that is what he's doing. He's calling out the rules.
Well, it's a smart play by him.
It is smart. It is smart because that is what's weird. Is like in one instance, you have to make a third move and survive the ground and all the other. But here, you don't. Like, it makes no sense. He says, but when you're making a catch, you have to survive the ground. He didn't survive the ground, says Harbaugh. He's not down by contact. He was catching the ball on the way down with another person. So you got to make a catch there and survive the ground. I don't know why it was ruled the way it was on that one. He said all of those things, I'm sure they'll explain it to us, but they had plenty of time to look at it, and they're the ones that are the experts on the rules. So, I mean, Bobby, that interception's taken away. The Ravens could have had the ball. I think it was like inside the red zone. It was around the 20. So that's a huge swing. Obviously taking 6, potentially 7 points off the board. That's a huge swing. We've already talked about Travis Jones. That would have been a field goal instead of a touchdown, but now you give him the ball right at the goal line, and then they score. So that's a 4-point swing. So 4-point swing, whatever this could have been, and then a 7-pointer here. And it's just like, you can't, and listen, that's not to say the Ravens couldn't have played better or coached better. Of course they can. But these are egregious calls that should be talked about. And when you're in an NFL division fight, you have two teams that are tied at 6-6. They both need to win the division. And so you're going to expect them to exchange blows. You're going to expect each one of them to get their punches in. What you don't expect is like these types of calls. Bobby, it's not even only these two also. It's also, we could just keep going. How about the fact after the defense is able to get a 3-and-out, which was the first time, it was late in the fourth quarter, like the first time since the first quarter, they get a 3-and-out, do what they're supposed to do. Okay, here comes Lamar and company, and the Ravens are going to try to mount a game-winning play, even though that Isaiah Likely go-ahead touchdown got wiped off. And so immediately on the punt return, they call a holding. These holdings can be called on every single punt return. But they call it on the Ravens in the most inopportune moments, and then fine, they get. I think that call put them back 18 yards, and then Andrew Voorhees, who never went out for Emory Jones. We're going to talk about Emory Jones not coming in at all later on. But then they have another holding call on the opening offensive play, and so it's just like, how many of these dumb things can you overcome? Again, the Steelers are going to get theirs. The Ravens, yes, could play better, but you can't have these massive games decided by referees and weird rules.
You mentioned the helped. So I would say that they helped decide the game. I don't think they decided the game today. I think
of course it's always helped, but that's a huge thing to do those things.
I think they helped decide. But the Ravens play. In my mind, the Ravens' play underperformance today against the Steelers exacerbated everything that we just discussed today.
No, but it's not fair to expect two 6-6 teams to dominate them so much that they overcome bad refereeing and bad rules like this.
The Ravens could have overcome.
You can say that every single game.
They could have overcome them today.
You should have played so well that you overcome the opponent and the referees. This is a division game with two teams tied in first place. You shouldn't have to expect them to dominate both the opponent and the rules.
The Ravens could have overcome them today. Absolutely.
Okay, Bobby. I mean, it's a go-ahead touchdown.
They could. You want to know how they could?
Yes, you could.
You want to know how they could have overcome them? You want to know how they could have overcome them? Lamar not throwing an interception with no touch in the opening half. They went 7 for 18 on third down. We haven't even talked about special teams. I mean, come on.
No, and I'm not saying that there are no mistakes, but you and I have different expectations of how an NFL game is supposed to go down. When you're tied at first place 6-6, my expectation is not to play perfect ball. That's not what happens. You said it was going to be an ugly game before the game started. It was a back and forth. It was a great, true Steelers-Ravens game. Yeah. That's the way these goes down. Yeah. Of course you can point out the mistakes, and we will. And everybody has to play better. But the point is, in a Ravens-Steelers battle, the Steelers are going to get theirs, and the Ravens are going to get theirs. The expectation cannot be that you take another team who's tied with you, and you have to be so perfect that you overcome your mistakes, their good play, and the referees. You can call it all day long. Yes, they could have done this. Yes, they could have done that. You can do that in every single game. I hear that. But that can't be the expectation that they overcome everything, including the rules.
I disagree passionately.
Good.
Let's go to post-game reaction right now. Isaiah Likely passionately talking about this. Lamar's up next.
I made a call. Got to live with what the refs say at the end of the day.
How frustrating has it been as you guys, in some red zone issues this year, and you find it's like you get the execution and then it still didn't go your way, but just overall, not getting the number of points you guys, this offense with the talent you guys expect?
Really just getting back to the drum boards. I mean, understanding what's not working, understanding, trying to get everybody on the same page to be able to score, put those 3 into 7, or being able to just put points on the board.
That's courtesy of Karita Parks and Bowie TV, and then Gianna Hahn from the Banner had this from Lamar Jackson.
Okay. I thought it was in the end zone, taking steps. I just kept punching at the ball. So, like I said,
emotionally, where do you guys go from? You think it's a likely touchdown to, obviously, the drive continues, but it ends up being a turnover down. Just what kind of swing is that for this
I believe we probably had like one timeout. Our defense had to get back out on the field and stop those guys. We wanted it to be a touchdown, but unfortunately it wasn't. So we tried to do what we could. We got the ball down the field and put points on the board. Probably like one timeout on the clock.
And Sarah, multiple beat reporters catching up with Lamar in that same media scrum where he told them his frustrations are, quote, through the roof. So I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate to it. Frustrations are high right now, including inside this here vault for all the best ways.
I'm not frustrated. I'm passionate.
Correct. Yes. Same here. But people can confuse that.
Oh, man, we got the chat going. Lots of people on your side, lots of people on my side. I love it.
It's good. And you knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
And now moving forward, they now have even more of a razor-thin margin for error. Should we get some reaction from everybody that's out there in the audience right now?
Yeah, let's cruise through them.
Okay. Sick Nasty Nate says football move is meaning, quote, the term that was used by New York.
Yep.
Football move is used when Vegas needs a call to go a certain way. By rule, toe tap should never be completed pass after that BS. Dreams is here celebrating 9 months with us.
Not the way I wanted to spend my 30th birthday. Sorry, Dreams. Happy birthday to you, buddy. He says, not the way I wanted to spend it with a loss to Pittsburgh, but the refs were terrible. I don't know what a touchdown is anymore because you can't use 3 feet on a toe tap. What happened to 2 feet down? Right? Even with Isaiah's toe, right? Remember when his toe? It was because his toe was out. But if his toe was in, it would have been 2 feet. And so, again, if there needs to be a third thing like surviving something, I mean, how long does he have to hold on to the ball for? Gosh dang.
Ocean 08. We'll get to this for sure. We had a little bit of a tangent, as we knew there would be, coming off the top of today's show in terms of the 3 controversial calls that went away from the Ravens today. We will get to the offensive line. Ocean 08 says the right side of the offensive line is costing us games. Shaking my head. Captain Hart is here with us.
Bateman and Likely 1A and 1B on way we didn't win, not saying they are the reason we lost, but they didn't help. Yeah, Bateman with that drop on 4th down. He wanted to turn and get over the first down marker before he had the ball. Okay. Then he says those last drives, the refs, I don't care what anybody says, they cost us the game.
That was 1,000% on Rashad Bateman. You want to know why Lamar had to rush it and it wasn't perfectly accurate? Breakdown on 77. Laney Lately says, it really bothers me that only one Raven, Roquan, came out of the locker room to talk to the media. Lamar should have faced the music. Shaking my head. To be clear, as we just discussed a second ago, he did catch up in a scrum in the locker room. So he didn't go to the podium setting.
Yeah.
But he caught up with beat reporters post-game. Fofo for real. We referenced this a few moments ago. Got us started with a 100 burger for you.
He says, well, a quote playoff game. And what did the Ravens do? A disappearing defense that made no impact plays, numerous penalties and mistakes that impacted the score. And worst of all, the sinking feeling of being outcoached once again, a true Greek tragedy.
While we're on this topic, Jeff Zaribek just caught up with NFL Vice President of Instant Replay, Mark Butterworth, and they talked about a pool report, or in the pool report.
Mm-hmm.
And on the overturn, which we know was initially ruled a touchdown for Isaiah Likely's catch, quote, the third step is an act common to the game, and before he could get the third foot down, the ball was ripped out. Therefore, it was an incomplete pass. That's on top of what Gene Steratore said earlier, Sarah, which is what we had up on the screen. And Jeff just catching up with, again, the NFL Vice President of Instant Replay, Mark Butterworth.
Yeah, so the same explanation. And again, if that's the case, then this shouldn't be ruled a catch for Aaron Rodgers.
More from Jeff on what would constitute a common act in the end zone. Butterworth said, quote, for this play, it would be him completing the third step. Likely took 2 steps after the catch, but the ball came out in the process of his third step.
What's the third move he has to make? He's in the end zone.
More from Butterworth.
You've got possession. You're in the plane. You're in the end zone.
More from Butterworth on the reversal of the Aaron Rodgers deflected pass. Again, this was initially ruled an interception by Teddy Buchanan. Rodgers tipped it to himself, caught it, and there was a bang-bang struggle for the play. Quote, the offensive player had control of the ball, and as he was going to the ground, there was a hand in there, but he never lost control of the ball, and then his knees hit the ground in control. That, to me, makes more sense than the likely play.
But that's not surviving the ground because he didn't, because Teddy Buchanan had the ball.
The knees hit the ground, though, initially.
When they both have control of the ball.
He's saying, but they're saying that Rodgers has more control in that moment, even though Teddy has a hand in it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm just saying
I know what he said. I'm disagreeing with him. Or not necessarily with him, but with the NFL, that like this is the credibility stuff. We've already had super chats. We've already had super chats say that this is gambling, that they're fixing it, right? And I'm not going to go that far, but that is what you're doing when this is not a catch in the NFL and this is a catch in the NFL. You're opening yourself up for criticism and accusations like that.
And one more from Zaribek. We're just going bang. We're going bang, bang, bang right now. Travis Jones personal foul. More from Jeff, again, from the head of vice president of instant replay at the league. Quote, the snapper by rule is a defenseless player, so the contact would be unnecessary. Basically, he ran him over. End quote.
So just to be clear, the NFL rules, this is why John Harbaugh was differentiating between the officials and them, and then calling it versus the rules. So what is a defensive tackle allowed to do? Because according to John Harbaugh, it's about forcefully making contact with the head and neck area. So they can't shoot the gaps where his shoulders are. They can't shoot the gaps. So what are they allowed to do? The snapper by rule is a defenseless player, so the contact would be unnecessary. So you can't make contact at all with the center? So no push? I mean, there's got to be more to it, but that's the way it sounds right here.
That therein lies some of the confusion here that clearly is shared by John Harbaugh based on his post-game press conferences. More here. Jeff asked Moore if it mattered that most of Jones' contacts seemed to be with the left guard. And he told him, quote, "It does not necessarily matter who is contacted first. The snapper is still by rule a defenseless player."
So no contact?
How perfect are all these tweets coming out as we're speaking about this right now from Jeff, who's catching up with the pool report.
Oh man. See these inconsistencies. The NFL is going to have to clean it up if they want to keep credibility. It's just like the tweet we read from Tony Dungy last week, where he was just like the review, which plays you can review versus which you can't. Like there's a set amount that you can, and so you can review something that has like 4 inches and not really impacting the game. But if it's an obvious missed call on, say, an interference, and it's a spot foul, but you can't review that. And so he's saying these types of things need to get cleaned up because it's a credibility issue. It's less about the officials. And if that's the rule, that you are making contact with the guard, you're trying to hit the gap, you're trying not to hit the snapper, but because the snapper is by rule a defenseless player, so what, you can't touch him?
And of course, what Dungy was getting after last week was all about the pass interference on both sides of the ball. But
at the essence is what we're getting at is credibility.
I'm with you.
It's credibility.
I'm with you. Dark Thunder 35 says one catch for 9 yards for Mark 40 million Andrews, and he couldn't get separation all day in playoff form today. Dark Thunder says we'll have some Monday commentary on the figures that came out from Over the Cap over the weekend that were very team favorable when it comes to Mark. But yeah, you can't get around the fact, Sarah, that he was very quiet today. May have been a DPI that wasn't called on him. He finishes with just 1 catch on 5 targets. And again, those 9 receiving yards that Dark Thunder is mentioning here. Captain is back with us.
He says Zay Flowers' touchdown catch against the Rams was literally the same thing in 2023, and it was a touchdown. Take a look.
Row Live 95 says he extends the ball after he caught it. That's a football move. 2 steps, check. Control, check. If this play was outside the end zone, it would be a fumble. So how is it incomplete? Makes no sense.
I just looked at the Zay Flowers one. It does. He catches it. Let me see this. Throw from Lamar. Catches it. Yeah, same thing.
Next
and he makes it that made a good point, Row Live, that he's extending the ball. Why isn't that is a football move? Putting it over the plane.
I have no idea what you guys. Nobody knows what you're looking at, though. That's the problem. We can't see it.
No, this is separate. I was going back to him. I was going back to Real Live saying this. Talking about
it was
I know it's the Zay, but I moved back, to this. But yeah, you could go back and look at the Zay one. Okay. Nexus TF says the ball didn't get knocked out, likely opened his hands, almost like he was celebrating early. Selfish, a serious identity problem with season.
Well, back-to-back weeks where Isaiah's been on the wrong end of a couple of these plays, one a little bit more conclusive than the other. Real Truth and Power says far from over, but we're getting out-coached in games and during practice. Lamar is running for his life, never has time to go downfield or in timely blitzes, and has corners way off receivers 3rd and 5. Look, Real Truth and Power, I'm sure we probably shouldn't comment on every single one of these so that we can get through them. But, look, Lamar was not perfect today by any stretch of the imagination. And I thought there were a lot of checkdowns that would have went for big gains that he missed. He's not seeing the field as he typically does. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the distrust, perhaps, with his offensive line. But let's make sure we add that into the critique as well. Steve0119 for you.
Says, are Ravens fans really shocked on the outcome? This team is the epitome of anti-situational football team. Also, 89 must have been counting his money because he was a no-show today. Fire up them mock drafts.
Row Live 95 says Rodgers' right hand is on the TB's glove. DB's glove, so Teddy Buchanan's glove. So one hand versus Teddy Buchanan, 2 hands on a loose ball, but gets granted possession. LMAO. Kobe Pruitt with a 50 spot today. This one's for you.
Kobe says that felt like the end of the season. Losing in a division fight is like 2 losses. This team is poorly coached and it's not talented enough to overcome the deficiencies. Sarah, I know you saw Lamar finally losing his temper. with Daniel Fa'alele. He said it's unacceptable. We are going to get to that soon. We keep teasing it, I know.
And there's audio for it as well from Tracy Wilson's report. Ocean08 says 9 times out of 10, that touchdown stands, Bobby. Stop the cap, LOL. I'm not arguing about the puzzling nature of the 3 things that we've opened up tonight's show with. It's more about the disagreement that Sarah and I have in terms of the way it dictated the game or didn't dictate the game. M. Nolan, this is Eileen celebrating 5 months. I'll take this one. Bobby just loves to hate on the Ravens. I'm with you, Sarah. All right, Eileen, thanks for the super chat, for your membership. Linda, this one's for you.
Linda with the 50 burger says ditto on Sarah's energy. The NFL is rigged. I didn't go that far, just an FYI. And they hate the H brothers, the Harbaugh brothers, because they complain too much.
Linda, thanks for the 50 spot. Rave says reports Lamar's yelling at Daniel Fa'alele, John's ego. We'll get to that. And Craver Tom for you.
Rodgers did not have both of his hands on the ball. The Ravens defender did. Rodgers had his hand on top of the defender's hand. Just plain horrible call, but it is still a loss.
Shoot the J. Shoot the J. All I know is likely held onto the ball longer than Rodgers did when he visibly lost it going down to the ground. Just saying. Keon Dedon says, I wonder what 8 said to 77 on the sideline. And Linda's back with a 10 spot for you.
Just by the way, I did that. All the super chats are making me look at it. On this screen grab that I have, his hand is on top of Buchanan's. I don't know what that means because, like I said, I don't know what an NFL catch is, but just validating the super chats. Linda says, but then how does the tip of a football touching the goal line count as a touchdown when a full ball and a player in the end zone has all of these rules, question mark, exclamation point.
Take another one from your hype man, Luke.
Luke says, Sarah got on her soapbox and said, no lies, cook.
Chance Patton, if that's the case, then they need to change the toe tape rule in the end zone. Wes is here, and he says there is no point in asking NFL officials about their opinion on officiating in the game. They'll always back their guys. Hefe says refs decided that game, but can we have an honest conversation about how Lamar consistently crumbles in playoff-type games? Early pick that led to 6 and taking a sack to end the game is inexcusable. We'll get to all of that. Black one, Rob, for you.
So on every field goal / point after attempt, this better be called from here on out. What's that last part? IJS?
JP Bug says partnering with gambling makes all these questions real and could lead to lawsuits for those brave enough. Scrap Skrilla the Reeler celebrating 2 months with us.
He says, so the snapper can block, but put his hands on someone, but you can't touch them.
Take another one from Sawyer Squad.
What happened to the OPI on DK push-off early in the game? Marlon Humphrey was certainly calling for that. We're going to get to that soon.
And we're going to get to what I have screenshot in just a second as well, because DeAndre Hopkins, veteran Ravens wide receiver, has just taken to Twitter on this entire topic that we're discussing right now. And here he is. He tweets at the NFL, and he says, 13 years in this league, how many steps do you need in the end zone for a touchdown? He doesn't care about that bank account.